The dense, evergreen canopy of the Pacific Northwest stretched endlessly beneath a cloud-heavy sky, casting long shadows over the rugged SEAL training compound nestled in a narrow valley. The morning chill bit at the exposed skin of the assembled operators, their breath visible in the crisp air as they gathered for the day's briefing. The faint scent of damp earth mingled with the metallic tang of weapons and the sharp aroma of freshly oiled gear. It was a place where toughness was forged, where the unforgiving terrain tested every ounce of will and skill. Admiral James Callahan stood at the forefront of the group, his posture rigid and commanding despite the casual setting. His weathered face, creased by years of relentless service, bore the unmistakable marks of a man who had seen countless deployments and emerged hardened. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, swept over the operators like a hawk scanning for weakness. Known throughout the SEAL community for his strict adherence to tradition and an unwavering belief in the old ways, Callahan embodied the archetype of old-school military leadership. His silver hair was cut short, a testament to discipline, and his decorated uniform spoke volumes of his storied career. As the operators settled into the morning's routine, the familiar crunch of boots on gravel announced the arrival of Commander Elena Vargas. Unlike Callahan, Vargas moved with a measured grace, her presence commanding attention without demanding it. Recently promoted to Admiral, she was a figure both respected and scrutinized, a trailblazer in a community that often resisted change. Her uniform was impeccable, her dark eyes reflecting a blend of determination and calm confidence. The subtle glint of a combat patch hinted at a past filled with real-world experience, not just command. The murmurs rippled through the gathered SEALs as she approached the briefing circle. In a community where respect was earned through proven toughness and battlefield acumen, her rapid ascent to Admiral rank was met with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Callahan's lips curled into a faint, sardonic smile as he stepped forward, his voice cutting through the low hum of whispered conversations. "Well, if it isn't Admiral Vargas," he said, his tone laced with condescension that barely hid his doubt. "Quite the rapid rise. I hope you've come prepared to keep up with the real operators out here." Vargas met his gaze evenly, her expression unflinching. "I've come to ensure our standards remain the highest," she replied smoothly, "and to learn from the best." Callahan's eyes narrowed, scanning her as if searching for cracks in a veneer he was determined to dismantle. "Standards, huh? We've been doing this a long time, longer than you've been in uniform, I'd wager. Sometimes experience is worth more than fresh ideas." A ripple of uneasy laughter spread among the operators, some shifting uncomfortably under the weight of the unspoken challenge. Vargas's jaw tightened, but her voice remained steady. "Experience is invaluable, Admiral Callahan, but so is adaptability. The battlefield doesn't wait for tradition." The tension was palpable, the air thick with the unspoken clash of old and new doctrines. The operators watched closely, their respect for Callahan tempered by a growing curiosity about Vargas's approach. It was a moment suspended between the past and the future, where the battle for authority was as much about ideas as it was about rank. Callahan gestured broadly toward the training grounds beyond the briefing circle. "Let's see if your theories hold up under fire. We've got a full day ahead, drills, live fire, tactics. This isn't a place for second-guessing or hesitation." Vargas nodded, her demeanor unshaken. "Agreed. Efficiency and precision will be our focus." As the group dispersed to prepare for the morning's exercises, the shift in dynamics was unmistakable. The seasoned operators exchanged glances, some wary, others intrigued by the prospect of new leadership shaking the foundation of their traditions. Callahan's voice carried easily over the gravel paths, a low rumble of challenge and command. Vargas moved with purpose, her mind already strategizing the day's flow, aware that every step she took was under scrutiny. The compound itself seemed to hold its breath, the towering pines standing as silent witnesses to the unfolding drama. The rugged terrain, littered with rocky outcrops and thick underbrush, was both a proving ground and a crucible. Each operator's boots sank slightly into the damp earth as they gathered their gear, the rhythmic clinking of weapons and the rustle of tactical vests adding a soundtrack to the morning's anticipation. Callahan's reputation as a strict disciplinarian was well-earned. He believed in the unyielding rigor of traditional methods, where every drill was a test of endurance and every command was absolute. His leadership style was forged in the crucible of decades of conflict, and he wore his skepticism of change like a badge of honor. To him, the introduction of new tactics or perspectives was often a distraction, a potential weakening of the hardened edge that had kept SEALs alive. Vargas, however, had built her career on a foundation of adaptability and innovation. Her deployments had exposed her to rapidly shifting combat environments, and she understood that rigidity could be a liability. Her approach was not to discard tradition but to evolve it, integrating modern intelligence, technology, and psychological insight into the timeless demands of warfare. She carried with her the weight of expectations, not just to lead, but to transform. The morning briefing concluded with a sharp nod from Vargas, signaling readiness. The operators moved with practiced efficiency, their bodies conditioned by countless hours of training. Yet beneath the surface, a quiet tension simmered, a test not only of physical skill but of leadership and respect. Callahan lingered briefly, casting one last scrutinizing glance toward Vargas. "I'll be watching," he said, voice low but firm. "Let's see if you're more than just a name on a roster." Vargas met his gaze without hesitation. "I intend to prove it." As the operators filed out to the training fields, the first rays of sun broke through the clouds, casting a pale light over the compound. The day ahead promised challenges not only of skill but of authority, a subtle battle woven between the lines of command, tradition, and the future of the SEAL community. The morning air crackled with anticipation, the stage set for a confrontation that would ripple far beyond the rugged landscape of the Pacific Northwest. The morning sun had climbed higher, filtering through the towering pines and casting fragmented light across the gravel training grounds. The operators moved with practiced precision, their gear clicking softly as they assembled for the first tactical exercise of the day. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, a charged undercurrent weaving through the murmured commands and the steady rhythm of boots striking the earth. Admiral Callahan stood at the edge of the formation, arms crossed, a faint smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. His eyes, sharp as ever, flicked toward Admiral Vargas as she issued her orders. The subtle tension between them was palpable, an unspoken challenge hanging in the air like a storm waiting to break. For Callahan, this was more than a routine exercise, it was an opportunity to test the mettle of a leader he openly questioned. Vargas's voice was steady, clear, and authoritative as she outlined the plan. "We'll approach the objective from the northwest ridge. Intel indicates enemy overwatch positions near the eastern clearing, so we'll employ a two-pronged approach. One squad will secure the ridge while the other maneuvers to flank. Timing and coordination will be critical." A ripple of acknowledgement passed through the SEAL teams, but Callahan's expression hardened. He stepped forward, cutting through the briefing with a sharp tone that drew attention. "That's a risky move," he said bluntly, voice carrying an edge of derision. "Flanking through the ridge's narrow path exposes the squad to ambush and limits retreat options. I've seen this kind of maneuver fail more times than I can count. We stick to the direct approach, overwhelming force, straightforward, no fancy maneuvers." The operators exchanged glances as the tension thickened. Some masked their surprise, others stifled quiet doubts. Vargas met Callahan's gaze without hesitation, her voice unwavering. "The direct approach assumes the enemy's position and strength remain static. Our recon shows increased patrols and fortified overwatch. A frontal assault risks heavy casualties. The flanking maneuver exploits terrain advantages and reduces exposure." Callahan scoffed, shaking his head. "Terrain advantages don't mean much if your team is caught in a choke point. Experience tells me this is a gamble, not a strategy." Vargas held her ground, her tone measured yet firm. "We're not playing a game of chance. We're leveraging intelligence and adaptability. That's how we minimize risk and maximize success." The operators watched, the divide between them widening. Callahan's skepticism was rooted in decades of hard-earned lessons, a worldview tempered by countless operations where caution was synonymous with survival. Vargas represented a new breed of leadership, one that valued agility, real-time intelligence, and flexibility over brute force and rigid doctrine. Callahan's smirk deepened, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "It's easy to talk about adaptability when you haven't been the one responsible for lives on the line. Let's see if your plan holds up when the bullets start flying." Vargas's eyes narrowed slightly, but her composure never faltered. Adaptability is exactly what keeps those lives safe. The murmurs among the SEALs grew louder, a mixture of curiosity, doubt, and anticipation. The line between respect and defiance blurred as the two admirals represented competing visions for the future of the unit. Callahan's old-school pragmatism clashed against Vargas's forward-thinking resolve, each unwilling to concede ground. As the teams prepared to move out, Callahan issued a curt nod. "Fine. We'll run it your way. But don't be surprised if things fall apart." Vargas simply nodded, signaling the teams to advance. The operators moved swiftly, navigating the rugged terrain with practiced ease. The first squad ascended the northwest ridge, scanning for threats, while the second maneuvered through dense brush to flank the simulated enemy position. Communications crackled over the radios, coordinating movements with precision. Callahan observed from a raised vantage point, his jaw clenched as the exercise unfolded. He watched the operators execute Vargas's plan, noting their discipline and cohesion. Yet his skepticism lingered, his mind replaying scenarios where similar plans had gone awry. For him, caution was a shield forged in fire. Meanwhile, Vargas moved among the teams, offering quiet guidance and adjustments. Her presence was a steadying force, her experience evident in the way she anticipated challenges and adapted orders in real time. The operators responded with confidence, their trust in her evident despite the tension. As the exercise progressed, a sudden shift in the simulated battlefield introduced complexity, a new threat vector from an unexpected direction. Vargas's team adjusted swiftly, rerouting the flanking squad and calling for suppressive fire. The operators responded seamlessly, their training and leadership enabling rapid adaptation. Callahan's eyes narrowed, the doubt in his expression giving way to grudging respect. He muttered under his breath, "Not bad." Yet as the exercise concluded, the undercurrent of tension remained. Callahan approached Vargas, his voice low but laced with barely concealed sarcasm. "You got lucky today. Next time, don't count on surprises to bail you out." Vargas met his gaze steadily. "Luck has nothing to do with it. Preparation and adaptability do." Callahan smirked again, though the edge was duller now. "We'll see if your style holds up under real fire." The operators regrouped, the day's events leaving an unmistakable mark. The old guard's skepticism collided with the promise of innovation, each side grappling with the implications. For the SEAL community, the exercise was more than a test of tactics, it was a battleground for respect and authority. Vargas's quiet confidence contrasted sharply with Callahan's brash certainty. The divide between tradition and change was laid bare, a conflict that would shape the unit's future. The operators, caught in the middle, sensed that this was only the beginning of a larger struggle. As the sun climbed higher, the compound buzzed with the energy of unresolved questions and unspoken challenges. The day's events set the stage for what was to come, a delicate dance between old and new, where leadership was measured not just in rank, but in the ability to inspire trust and command respect. Callahan's words echoed in Vargas's mind as she prepared for the next phase of the day. "It's easy to talk about adaptability when you haven't been the one responsible for lives on the line." She knew the weight of command was heavy, but she also understood that true leadership demanded more than experience, it required openness, courage, and the willingness to evolve. The operators' eyes lingered on the two admirals, each representing a different path. The morning's confrontation had exposed fault lines, but it had also sparked a quiet reckoning. The question lingering in the air was clear: could tradition and innovation find common ground, or would the divide deepen until one prevailed? The compound settled into a tense rhythm, the sounds of preparation and movement underscoring a day marked by more than drills and maneuvers. It was a day where respect was challenged, authority contested, and the future of the SEALs hung in the balance. The late morning sun filtered through the dense canopy, dappling the rugged terrain with shifting patterns of light and shadow. The SEAL teams had regrouped after the tactical exercise, their faces flushed with exertion and minds sharp with the adrenaline of simulated combat. The atmosphere was charged, not just with physical fatigue but with a simmering tension that had been building ever since the morning's confrontation between Admirals Callahan and Vargas. Callahan stood near a cluster of operators, arms folded, his gaze fixed on Vargas as she reviewed the next phase of the day's training. The air between them was thick with unspoken challenges, each waiting for the other to make the next move. The operators sensed the friction, their respect divided yet their loyalty to the mission intact. Vargas approached Callahan deliberately, her stride confident but measured. "Admiral," she began, voice steady, "I'd like to discuss the upcoming live-fire drill. I'm proposing a revised approach based on recent intel and terrain analysis." Callahan's eyes glinted with skepticism. "Let me guess, you want to deviate from the standard protocol?" She met his gaze without hesitation. "Yes. The standard protocol assumes a linear engagement, but the terrain here offers multiple vantage points and concealment options. A more dynamic approach will better prepare the teams for the unpredictability of real combat." A dry chuckle escaped Callahan's lips. "Dynamic, huh?" Sounds like a recipe for chaos. We've been running this drill the same way for years because it works. No need to fix what isn't broken. Vargas tilted her head slightly, a hint of steel beneath her calm exterior. Respectfully, Admiral, stagnation is a liability. Flexibility saves lives. Callahan's jaw tightened, but he gestured toward the training ground. Fine. Show me what you've got. Gathering the operators, Vargas outlined her revised plan. She emphasized fluid movement, decentralized command, and rapid communication. Her approach required the teams to adapt on the fly, responding to simulated threats that could emerge from any direction. The operators listened intently, some nodding in cautious approval, others exchanging uncertain glances. As the teams moved into position for the live-fire exercise, Callahan's skepticism was palpable. He watched as Vargas directed the squads with precision, her commands crisp but adaptable. The operators executed the maneuvers with a blend of discipline and spontaneity, their training evident in every calculated movement. Midway through the drill, a simulated ambush was initiated from an unexpected angle. The teams responded swiftly, adjusting their tactics in real time under Vargas's guidance. The operators communicated seamlessly, covering each other as they maneuvered through the challenging terrain. The fluidity of their response contrasted sharply with the rigid protocols Callahan had championed. From his vantage point, Callahan's expression shifted subtly. The lines of doubt softened, replaced by a grudging acknowledgement of the effectiveness unfolding before him. Yet his voice, when he finally spoke, was still edged with provocation. Don't get too comfortable. This kind of flexibility can lead to confusion if not managed perfectly. Vargas met his gaze squarely. That's why we train for it. Because the battlefield always breaks the script. As the exercise concluded, the operators regrouped, sweat glistening on their brows, hearts pounding with the thrill of success. The atmosphere was charged with a newfound energy, a blend of respect for Vargas's leadership and an appreciation for the lessons learned. Callahan approached Vargas, his tone low but carrying a hint of respect. I won't deny you know your stuff. But remember, experience teaches caution. It's a balance. Vargas nodded thoughtfully. Agreed. And that balance is what we need to master. The operators, witnessing this exchange, felt the first cracks in the old guard's resistance. The confrontation between tradition and innovation was no longer a battleground of disdain but a dialogue of possibilities. The day's events had shifted the dynamic, opening the door for collaboration rather than conflict. As the sun climbed higher, the training compound buzzed with renewed purpose. The SEALs moved with a sharper focus, their trust in leadership evolving alongside their skills. The lessons of the morning were etched into the fabric of the team, a testament to the power of adaptability and the courage to challenge convention. Vargas and Callahan stood side by side, the unspoken understanding between them a fragile but growing bridge. Their journey was just beginning, but the first steps toward mutual respect had been taken, steps that would shape the future of the SEAL community and redefine what it meant to lead in an era of change. The afternoon sun hung low over the Pacific Northwest training compound, casting a golden hue through the towering pines as shadows stretched across the uneven terrain. The air was thick with the scent of pine needles and earth disturbed by countless boots. The SEAL teams had transitioned from drills to a live-fire exercise designed to simulate the chaos of real combat, and the tension in the air was palpable. Admiral Callahan maintained his usual imposing presence near the command post, his eyes scanning the field with the meticulous scrutiny of a man who had witnessed too many close calls. His posture was rigid, betraying a simmering unease that wasn't lost on the operators around him. The grizzled veteran was known for his unshakable confidence in traditional tactics and a firm belief that experience was the only true measure of command. Admiral Vargas stood nearby, her gaze steady and focused as she monitored the teams moving through the complex drill. Her approach to leadership had already begun to shift the unit's dynamics, emphasizing adaptability and rapid decision-making in the face of unpredictable threats. Today was to be a crucial test, not only of the team's skills but of her ability to command respect under pressure. The live-fire exercise commenced with the teams advancing toward a simulated enemy position nestled among the dense underbrush and rocky outcrops. Communication lines buzzed with terse, clipped messages as operators coordinated movements, their training evident in every silent signal and practiced maneuver. Suddenly, a sharp crack pierced the air, a simulated grenade detonated unexpectedly near one of the squads, sending a shockwave through the exercise. The blast was designed to test the operator's reflexes and command response under stress, but the proximity to live ammunition heightened the stakes. Chaos seemed to ripple through the formation as the squad nearest the blast hesitated, momentarily disoriented. Radios crackled with urgent calls for status updates and orders, but confusion threatened to undermine the carefully choreographed drill. The tension spiked, the sharp scent of gunpowder mingling with the earthy aroma of disturbed soil. Callahan's jaw tightened as he observed the faltering squad. His instincts screamed for immediate, rigid control, an unambiguous command to halt and regroup before proceeding. He took a step forward, ready to issue the order himself, his voice poised to cut through the chaos. Before he could speak, Vargas stepped decisively into the fray. Her voice rang out clearly, authoritative yet calm. Abort advance. Regroup at Rally Point Bravo. Medics to Sector 3. Secure perimeter and prepare for casualty extraction. The operators snapped to attention, executing the order with practiced efficiency. Vargas's command was precise, cutting through confusion and instilling calm amid the simulated crisis. The squad that had faltered quickly recovered, moving with renewed purpose toward the designated rally point. Callahan's expression flickered with surprise, a momentary crack in his otherwise stoic facade. He recognized immediately that Vargas's swift assessment and decisive command had averted what could have turned into a dangerous breakdown of control. Her ability to override standard procedures in the face of an emergent threat demonstrated a mastery of leadership that transcended rank alone. As the teams regrouped, Vargas moved among them, offering concise directives and encouragement. Her presence was a steady anchor, a beacon of composure that bolstered confidence in the midst of simulated peril. The operators responded with renewed vigor, their respect for her deepening with each successful maneuver. Callahan approached her quietly, his voice low but carrying the weight of reluctant acknowledgement. You made the right call. That could have gone sideways fast. Vargas met his gaze evenly, her tone measured but resolute. In moments like these, hesitation costs lives. Leadership demands decisiveness. The atmosphere between them shifted subtly, the rigid barriers of skepticism beginning to soften. Callahan's traditionalism clashed less with Vargas's innovation and more intertwined with it, revealing a shared commitment to the survival and effectiveness of their teams. As the exercise resumed, the operators executed the remaining drills with heightened focus, integrating the lessons of the unexpected blast and the swift command response. The compound buzzed with a renewed energy, one born not just from physical exertion but from an evolving trust in leadership that balanced experience with adaptability. Throughout the remainder of the afternoon, Vargas continued to demonstrate tactical acumen and calm under pressure. Her decisions were informed by a deep understanding of both the terrain and the human element of combat. She shifted seamlessly between strategic oversight and hands-on guidance, embodying the qualities that commanders and operators alike aspired to emulate. Callahan, observing from his vantage point, found his earlier resistance tempered by respect. The day's events challenged his preconceptions and underscored the importance of embracing new perspectives without discarding hard-earned lessons. As the sun began its slow descent behind the pine-lined horizon, the SEAL teams gathered for a brief debrief. The operators, though fatigued, carried an unmistakable sense of accomplishment. The exercise had tested their limits and pushed them to adapt in real time, and their leadership had been instrumental in navigating the challenges. Vargas addressed the group, her voice steady and resonant. Today demonstrated the importance of swift decision-making and the courage to act decisively. Our strength lies not just in tradition but in our ability to evolve and respond to the unexpected. Callahan stepped forward, his tone less confrontational than earlier. I've seen a lot in my years. Today reminded me that experience is vital, but so is the willingness to adapt. We're stronger when we combine both. The operators exchanged approving glances, sensing that the fissures between old and new leadership were beginning to heal. The day's trial by fire had forged a new understanding, one where respect was earned through competence, courage, and character rather than rank alone. As twilight settled over the compound, the air cooled and quieted, but the impact of the day's events lingered. The operators packed away their gear with a renewed sense of purpose, the lessons of leadership under pressure etched deeply into their minds. Vargas and Callahan stood side by side for a moment, the shared weight of command settling between them. The challenges ahead remained formidable, but a foundation of mutual respect and a shared commitment to excellence had been laid. The transformation underway was subtle but undeniable, a shift toward a leadership culture that valued both the wisdom of tradition and the innovation necessary for the ever-changing realities of warfare. In that moment, the future of the SEAL teams felt less uncertain, buoyed by the promise of collaboration and the strength of unified command. The morning mist still clung to the towering pines as the SEAL operators gathered once more on the rugged compound, their uniforms damp with dew and anticipation. The previous day's trials had left an indelible impression, not just on their muscles and minds, but on the very fabric of their unit's leadership. Today, the atmosphere held a subtle shift, a tension replaced by cautious respect, as the operators prepared for a demanding series of drills designed to test not only their physical prowess but the cohesion of command. Admiral Vargas moved among the teams with a quiet confidence, her presence steady and assured. She had spent the night reviewing after-action reports, refining training protocols to address the nuances revealed by yesterday's exercises. Her approach was meticulous, blending the hard-earned lessons of tradition with the fluid demands of modern warfare. The operators responded to her with a renewed sense of trust, their eyes reflecting the unspoken acknowledgement that leadership was evolving before them. Admiral Callahan observed from his usual vantage point, his posture less rigid, his gaze less critical. The events of the past day had begun to chip away at his skepticism, revealing a grudging appreciation for Vargas's tactical acumen and decisiveness. Yet, his seasoned mind remained vigilant, ever watchful for the realities that only decades of combat could impart. Today's drill was designed to push the limits, a full live-fire exercise involving coordinated movement through complex terrain, requiring split-second decisions and flawless communication. The operators were to simulate an assault on a fortified enemy compound, incorporating elements of reconnaissance, suppression, and rapid assault, each phase demanding precision and adaptability. As the teams took their positions, Vargas addressed them with clarity and purpose. This exercise will test your ability to operate under pressure and adapt to unfolding threats. Remember, success depends not only on executing orders but on understanding the intent behind them. Callahan stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of experience. Discipline and control save lives. Follow your training, but keep your heads clear. The battlefield is unforgiving. The operators acknowledged the combined command with sharp nods, their focus palpable. The exercise began with reconnaissance teams moving silently through the underbrush, gathering simulated intel on enemy positions. Communication flowed seamlessly as the assault squads coordinated their approach, relying on both established protocols and real-time adjustments. Midway through the operation, the simulated enemy launched a counterattack from an unexpected flank, forcing the teams to react instantly. Radios crackled with urgent calls, and operators adjusted positions with practiced agility. Vargas's command was precise, her orders shifted fluidly to counter the developing threat, emphasizing coordination and mutual support. Callahan watched intently as the teams executed the complex maneuvers, noting with approval the discipline and cohesion on display. When Vargas ordered a temporary withdrawal to reassess and reorganize, the teams responded without hesitation, their trust in her judgment evident. The drill reached its climax with a coordinated breach and clear operation. Vargas directed the assault with calm authority, guiding the operators through the simulated compound with tactical precision. The teams moved as one, their training and leadership converging to overcome the challenge. As the exercise concluded, the operators gathered for a debrief, their faces flushed but their spirits high. Vargas addressed the group, her tone both instructive and encouraging. Today demonstrated the power of adaptability combined with discipline. Your ability to respond to changing circumstances and maintain cohesion under pressure is what sets us apart. Callahan stepped forward, his demeanor softened but resolute. I've seen many exercises, and today was different. Your leadership, Admiral Vargas, ensured that knowledge and experience came together effectively. This is how we grow stronger. The operators exchanged glances, the mutual respect palpable. The day's success was more than tactical, it was symbolic of a leadership transition unfolding within their ranks. The fusion of traditional rigor and innovative adaptability was no longer theoretical but a lived reality. Later, as the teams packed away their gear beneath the waning light of an overcast sky, Vargas and Callahan stood side by side. The tension that had marked their earlier encounters had eased into a professional camaraderie forged through shared challenges and hard-won respect. Callahan broke the silence, his voice low but earnest. You've earned your place, Admiral. Not just in rank, but in command. Vargas nodded, a faint smile touching her lips. And I owe much to the foundation laid by leaders like you. There's strength in both tradition and change. The compound grew quiet as the operators dispersed, their footsteps fading into the soft rustle of the northwest forest. The day's events had marked a turning point, not just in training, but in the culture of leadership itself. In the days that followed, the lessons learned began to ripple through the unit. New protocols emphasized communication, adaptability, and shared responsibility. Operators were encouraged to think critically and take initiative within a framework of disciplined command. The old guard found its place alongside new perspectives, each enriching the other. Callahan's endorsement of Vargas's leadership resonated throughout the ranks, easing resistance and fostering a climate of openness. Vargas, in turn, remained grounded in respect for the experience around her, blending innovation with humility. The transformation was subtle but profound. The unit's effectiveness improved, morale lifted, and a renewed sense of purpose took hold. The collaboration between the admirals became a model for leadership that transcended rank, gender, and tradition. As the sun set behind the towering pines, the SEAL compound stood as a testament to evolution, where discipline met adaptability, and leadership was defined by competence and character. The journey was far from over, but the path forward was clear, a future shaped by unity, respect, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. As twilight settled over the dense forest surrounding the SEAL training compound, a quiet stillness descended, broken only by the distant murmur of operators winding down after a grueling day. The fading light cast long shadows across the gravel pathways, where Admiral Vargas and Admiral Callahan stood apart from the rest, their figures silhouetted against the soft glow of the setting sun. Callahan's eyes, usually sharp and unyielding, held a flicker of contemplation as he regarded Vargas. The tension that had defined their earlier encounters had softened into something more complex, a reluctant respect tempered by the weight of shared experience. The veteran's voice broke the silence, low and deliberate. "Elena," he began, using her first name with a cautious familiarity, "I want to be candid. I've been skeptical, maybe more than I should have. Your rise through the ranks, your methods, they challenged everything I believed about leadership." Vargas met his gaze steadily, the faintest hint of a weary smile touching her lips. "I understand. Change is never easy, especially in a community built on tradition and hard-earned lessons." Callahan nodded slowly. "I've seen a lot in my time. Battles fought, lives lost. Leadership isn't just about orders, it's about bearing the responsibility for those lives, the ones who trust you to make the right call when it matters most." She inhaled deeply, her eyes reflecting the weight of that responsibility. "I've faced my own battles, Admiral. Not just in combat, but in proving myself every step of the way. The path wasn't smooth, but it taught me that respect is earned through action and character, not just rank or tenure." Callahan's expression softened further, the lines of skepticism giving way to understanding. "You've shown that today. Your decisiveness during the live-fire drills, it saved the team from a potential disaster. That wasn't luck, that was leadership." Vargas inclined her head. "Thank you. But leadership also means listening, learning, and sometimes admitting when you don't have all the answers." A brief silence settled between them, filled with the unspoken acknowledgement of their shared burdens. Callahan shifted his weight, his tone more reflective. "There's a part of me that feared your approach might erode the discipline and experience that have kept us alive. But I'm beginning to see that adaptability doesn't mean abandoning those values, it means building on them." She smiled genuinely this time. "Exactly. It's about integrating the wisdom of the past with the realities of the present and future. Our operators deserve leadership that's both grounded and dynamic." Callahan's eyes drifted toward the horizon, where the last light of day faded into twilight. "You've taught me that humility is as important as confidence. That being a leader means evolving, not just commanding." Vargas nodded thoughtfully. "And that true respect is mutual. Between leaders and those they lead. It's a dialogue, not a monologue." The two admirals stood side by side, the distance between their philosophies bridged by shared values and experiences. Their conversation marked more than just a reconciliation, it was a merging of perspectives that promised to shape the future of their unit. As darkness deepened, the compound's lights flickered on, illuminating the faces of the operators settling in for the night. The lessons of the day, the challenges faced, and the evolving leadership dynamic resonated quietly beneath the surface. Callahan broke the silence once more, his voice carrying a tone of sincere respect. "Elena, I look forward to what we can accomplish together." There's strength in this partnership. Vargas extended her hand, a gesture of trust and camaraderie. As do I, James. Together, we'll lead this community into whatever challenges lie ahead. Their handshake was firm, a tangible symbol of their commitment to unity and growth. It was a moment that transcended rank or ego, a testament to the power of humility, courage, and shared purpose. As they parted ways to rejoin their teams, the night air carried a renewed sense of possibility. The journey ahead was still fraught with challenges, but the foundation of mutual respect had been laid. The future of the SEAL community was no longer a battleground of old versus new but a landscape shaped by collaboration and evolving leadership. In that quiet exchange beneath the fading light, the promise of transformation was real and imminent. The morning fog clung to the towering pines as the SEAL compound stirred to life, the muted sounds of gear being prepared and hushed conversations threading through the damp air. The previous days had shifted the atmosphere palpably, where once skepticism and quiet resistance had lingered, now a tentative openness began to take root among the operators and leadership alike. The subtle but profound transformation was most evident in the evolving dynamic between Admirals Callahan and Vargas. Callahan stood beside Vargas near the training grounds, watching as the teams went through their paces with a new energy, one marked by a blend of disciplined execution and adaptive thinking. The grizzled veteran's posture had softened, his sharp gaze now accompanied by a nod of approval rather than criticism. This morning, they convened not just as commanders, but as collaborators united by a shared mission to elevate the unit's capabilities. Vargas addressed the assembled operators, her voice carrying a renewed authority tempered with inclusivity. Today, we begin implementing updated protocols designed to enhance communication, foster innovation, and strengthen team cohesion. These aren't just changes for change's sake, they're built on the lessons we've learned together. Callahan stepped forward, his tone steady and sincere. We're blending the best of tradition with the need to adapt to modern challenges. Leadership isn't static, it evolves. And so must we. The operators absorbed their words, sensing a shift from rigid hierarchy toward a more collaborative leadership style. The new protocols emphasize decentralized decision-making, encouraging operators to exercise judgment and initiative within a clear command framework. Communication channels were streamlined, with feedback loops designed to ensure that frontline insights informed tactical adjustments swiftly. The training exercises that followed were structured to put these principles into practice. Teams rotated through scenarios demanding rapid adaptation, unexpected threats, shifting objectives, and environmental challenges that required more than rote responses. Operators communicated fluidly, adjusting tactics on the fly while maintaining cohesion and discipline. Callahan observed a squad executing a complex flanking maneuver with precision, their radio chatter crisp and coordinated. He caught Vargas's eye and exchanged a nod that spoke volumes, an unspoken acknowledgement of progress and shared purpose. Later, Vargas gathered the team for a debrief. Your ability to think critically and communicate effectively under pressure is key to operational success. These changes aren't about undermining experience but enhancing it. Every voice matters. An operator stepped forward, voice steady but reflective. It's empowering to know our input shapes the mission. It makes us more invested. Callahan's response was measured. Experience teaches us the value of discipline. Innovation teaches us to be flexible. Together, they make us stronger. The day unfolded against the backdrop of the rugged Pacific Northwest, the compound alive with purposeful motion. The blend of tradition and innovation was no longer theoretical, it was manifest in every drill, every command, every calculated move. The operators embraced this new culture with cautious enthusiasm, their confidence bolstered by leadership that valued both their expertise and their insights. As the sun dipped low, casting amber light through the fir trees, Vargas and Callahan met once more, the bond between them now forged in mutual respect and shared vision. Callahan's tone was reflective but optimistic. This new dynamic, it's changing how we operate, how we lead. It's not always comfortable, but it's necessary. Vargas nodded. Change rarely is easy. But it's what prepares us for the uncertainties ahead. Their partnership had become a model within the compound, proof that leadership could evolve without sacrificing the core values that define the SEAL community. The merging of old and new created a leadership ecosystem that was adaptive, inclusive, and resilient. The operators, once caught between competing philosophies, now moved forward with a unified purpose. The culture of collaboration fostered by Vargas and endorsed by Callahan rippled through the ranks, inspiring a generation of SEALs ready to meet the demands of modern warfare with both discipline and innovation. As night fell and the compound quieted, the transformation underway was unmistakable. Leadership was no longer a rigid hierarchy but a living, breathing system, responsive, dynamic, and grounded in mutual respect. The future, once uncertain, now gleamed with the promise of continued growth and excellence shaped by a commitment to evolve together. The early morning mist lifted slowly, unveiling the familiar contours of the training compound bathed in soft, pale light. The air was cool but carried a renewed energy, a subtle but unmistakable shift that had taken hold over weeks of rigorous drills and evolving leadership. The SEAL teams moved with a fluid confidence, a testament to the transformation seeded by Admirals Vargas and Callahan. The compound buzzed with purposeful activity as the operators engaged in a series of complex, scenario-based exercises designed to test not only their physical skill but their ability to think critically and operate cohesively under pressure. These exercises, unlike previous regimens, emphasized adaptability and collaborative problem-solving, hallmarks of the leadership evolution underway. Vargas paced alongside a squad navigating a simulated urban environment, her eyes sharp as she observed their communication and tactical choices. The operators moved with seamless coordination, adjusting their formations and strategies in response to unexpected threats introduced by the exercise controllers. Radios crackled with concise updates, and the operators' body language reflected trust, both in their teammates and in the decentralized command structure that empowered their decisions. Nearby, Callahan observed with a measured nod, his expression thoughtful. The veteran's usual stern demeanor softened as he witnessed the operators' enhanced performance. The melding of rigorous discipline with adaptive thinking had yielded tangible improvements. He caught Vargas's eye, and a brief exchange of smiles conveyed mutual acknowledgement of progress. In the briefing area, a group of younger operators gathered around a whiteboard, discussing lessons learned from the morning's exercise. Their conversation was animated but focused, reflecting a culture that encouraged open dialogue and continuous learning. The new mentorship program, initiated by Vargas, paired seasoned veterans with emerging leaders, fostering knowledge transfer and mutual growth. One operator, a recently promoted team leader, spoke with quiet confidence. The emphasis on scenario-based exercises has really sharpened our decision-making. We're not just following orders, we're anticipating and adapting. A veteran nodded in agreement. And the mentorship program helps bridge experience with fresh perspectives. It's changed how we approach training. Later, Vargas convened a debrief with the leadership cadre, reviewing feedback and performance metrics. Her focus was on refining protocols to further enhance operational effectiveness and morale. Callahan contributed insights from his extensive experience, balancing caution with openness to innovation. The key, Vargas emphasized, is fostering an environment where everyone feels empowered to contribute without compromising discipline. Our strength lies in blending tradition with adaptability. Callahan added, I've seen firsthand that flexibility on the battlefield can save lives. But it requires a foundation of trust and clear communication. The day's activities culminated in a joint exercise involving multiple teams coordinating a complex assault with shifting objectives and simulated civilian presence. The operators demonstrated remarkable cohesion, seamlessly integrating adaptive tactics with disciplined execution. Observers noted the marked improvement in morale and operational efficiency compared to previous exercises. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting a warm glow over the compound, the operators gathered for a final debrief. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of accomplishment and shared purpose. Vargas addressed the group, her voice resonant with conviction. Today's performance reflects not just individual skill but the power of collaboration and continuous learning. We're building a culture where every member contributes to our success. Callahan stepped forward, his tone carrying the weight of experience and respect. The transformation we've witnessed is a testament to the leadership and commitment from everyone here. It's a reminder that growth comes from embracing change while honoring our roots. The operators exchanged nods and quiet affirmations, the collective spirit strengthened by the day's achievements. The mentorship programs, updated training protocols, and emphasis on adaptive thinking had fostered a resilient, responsive team ready to face evolving challenges. As night settled over the compound, the quiet hum of activity persisted, operators reviewing lessons, refining skills, and preparing for the demands ahead. The legacy of leadership that Vargas and Callahan cultivated was no longer theoretical but lived daily, shaping the identity and effectiveness of the SEAL community. In that moment, the transformation was undeniable, a unit united not just by rank or tradition, but by shared commitment to excellence, adaptability, and mutual respect. The path forward was clear, illuminated by the hard-earned lessons of collaboration and the unwavering pursuit of operational mastery. The gray dawn broke over the SEAL compound, casting long shadows across the dew-soaked ground as the operators gathered for the morning formation. The air was crisp, punctuated by the low murmur of conversations and the steady rhythm of footsteps on gravel. There was a new energy in the ranks, a quiet confidence born from weeks of transformation and hard-won progress. Admiral Vargas stood before the assembled teams, her posture poised and commanding yet approachable. Beside her, Admiral Callahan's presence was no less imposing, though softened by a genuine respect that had grown over countless shared challenges. Together, they embodied the fusion of tradition and innovation that had come to define the unit's evolving identity. Vargas's voice carried clearly over the formation. Our journey has been one of growth and adaptation. We've embraced new tactics, fostered open communication, and reinforced the bonds that make us more than just a unit. We are a team. Callahan stepped forward, his tone steady and imbued with hard-earned wisdom. I've spent decades leading men into combat, and I can tell you this: humility and openness to change are as vital as discipline and training. Leadership is not about rank alone, it's about earning respect through action. The operators absorbed their words, the message resonating deeply. The transformation was no longer confined to drills or protocols, it had become a part of their collective ethos. The community was embracing diversity in leadership styles, recognizing that strength lay in unity rather than uniformity. Throughout the day, training exercises underscored this new paradigm. Operators collaborated seamlessly, leveraging each other's strengths and insights. Scenario-based drills challenged them to think critically, communicate effectively, and adapt swiftly. The mentorship programs flourished, bridging experience and fresh perspectives to cultivate well-rounded leaders. Callahan found himself reflecting on his own journey. The skepticism he once harbored had given way to admiration for Vargas's approach and the resilience of the teams. He recognized that true authority stemmed not from tradition alone but from competence, character, and the courage to evolve. Vargas, in turn, acknowledged the foundational role that seasoned leaders like Callahan played in shaping a culture that valued both heritage and progress. Their partnership had become a beacon within the community, illustrating the power of collaboration across generations and perspectives. As evening fell, the compound gathered for a ceremony honoring teamwork and leadership. The camaraderie was palpable, the atmosphere charged with pride and mutual respect. Awards were presented not only for marksmanship or tactical excellence but for exemplifying the values of humility, service, and commitment to the greater good. Vargas addressed the assembly, her voice resonating with conviction. Leadership is a journey, not a destination. It requires us to learn from one another, to listen, and to lead with integrity. Our strength lies in our unity and our willingness to grow. Callahan followed, his tone reflective yet inspiring. We honor those who lead by example, those who understand that respect is earned through actions, not titles. Together, we forge a legacy that will endure. The operators stood tall, united by a shared vision that transcended individual ambition. The lessons learned from their collective experiences had become foundational principles guiding their path forward. In the days and months that followed, the story of their transformation spread beyond the compound's borders. Other units began adopting similar approaches, recognizing the value of integrating adaptive leadership with time-tested discipline. The ripple effect fostered a broader cultural shift within the military community. The impact was profound, training methods evolved, leadership development programs expanded, and a new generation of operators emerged, grounded in humility and driven by excellence. The legacy of Vargas and Callahan's partnership became a touchstone for what effective leadership could be. Yet beneath the accolades and progress lay a deeper truth, that leadership is an ever-evolving art, shaped by the willingness to challenge assumptions, embrace diversity, and serve with unwavering commitment. The journey was ongoing, but the foundation was strong. As the stars emerged over the Pacific Northwest, the SEAL compound stood as a testament to transformation, not just in tactics or protocols but in the very character of those who led and those who followed. The future was uncertain, as it always is in their line of work, but it was met with confidence born from respect, collaboration, and the courage to change. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the SEAL training compound, illuminating the faces of the assembled operators as they stood in formation on the expansive drill field. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and the faint metallic tang of equipment freshly polished and ready for inspection. Today was not a day of drills or exercises, but a ceremony, a solemn gathering to honor the values that bound them together and the leadership that guided them through transformation. Admiral Elena Vargas stood at the podium, her uniform immaculate, her gaze steady and resolute. Beside her, Admiral James Callahan stood with a quiet dignity, the lines etched by years of service softening as he surveyed the crowd. The tension and skepticism that had once marked their early encounters had long since given way to mutual respect and a shared vision. Vargas began, her voice carrying across the assembled ranks with clarity and conviction. Today, we honor not just individual achievement, but the spirit of teamwork and leadership that defines who we are. True authority is not granted by rank alone, it is earned through competence, character, and the courage to face challenges head-on. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle among the operators. Our journey has been one of growth, embracing new ideas without discarding the wisdom of our predecessors. We have learned that leadership is a dialogue, that respect is mutual, and that excellence demands humility. Callahan stepped forward, his voice deep and steady, resonating with the authority of experience. In my years leading men into combat, I've come to understand that the greatest leaders are those who listen as much as they command. It's not about ego or tradition alone, it's about serving those who depend on you and inspiring them to be their best. The crowd listened intently, the atmosphere charged with a sense of purpose and unity. Operators who had once been divided by doubts now stood united, their shared experiences forging a stronger bond than any rank insignia could symbolize. Vargas continued, the transformation we have undergone is a testament to the power of collaboration. By blending the lessons of the past with the demands of the present, we have created a leadership model that is adaptive, inclusive, and resilient. Callahan nodded, adding, this is a legacy that belongs to all of us, a legacy built on trust, respect, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. It is a legacy that will guide future generations of operators. As the ceremony progressed, awards were presented not only for marksmanship and tactical proficiency but for exemplifying the core values of humility, integrity, and service. The operators stood tall as their peers were recognized, the pride and camaraderie evident in every salute and handshake. Among the crowd, younger operators exchanged glances, inspired by the example set by their leaders. They understood that the path ahead would demand both strength and adaptability, and that true leadership required more than skill, it required heart. Vargas and Callahan exchanged a brief, meaningful look, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had undertaken together and the road still ahead. Their partnership had reshaped the culture of the unit, sparking change that would ripple far beyond the confines of the compound. As the ceremony drew to a close, Vargas addressed the assembly one final time. Leadership is not a destination, it is a continuous journey. It requires courage to confront our own limitations and the humility to learn from others. May we carry these lessons forward, united in purpose and resolute in mission. Callahan stepped beside her, his voice a steady anchor. Let us honor those who lead with integrity, who serve with dedication, and who inspire through example. Together, we forge a future worthy of the sacrifices made and the challenges to come. The assembled operators stood in silent tribute, the sun now high in the sky, casting a brilliant light on a community transformed. In that moment, leadership was more than rank or command, it was the embodiment of shared values, earned trust, and the enduring commitment to serve a cause greater than oneself. As the ceremony concluded and the operators began to disperse, the spirit of unity and excellence lingered in the air. The lessons learned, the barriers broken, and the respect earned would continue to shape the identity of the SEAL teams for generations to come. The compound, once a place of rigid tradition and cautious skepticism, now thrummed with the vibrant energy of growth and possibility. The future was uncertain, as it always would be, but the foundation was unshakable, a testament to leadership grounded in competence, character, and the courage to change.